triggers inside. Let's discuss that with Shubham Jain, the Vice President and Sector Head of Real Estate at ICRA. Thanks so much for joining us here on ET Now. I think it's been almost a decade now that we've been talking about how the property market has been battered out of shape. Every year there is all this talk of how we're going to see a recovery. We don't see that. There is so much unsold inventory. At the same time, the government is talking about affordable housing. We all know what's happening with the banks and the real estate developers. My first question to you is that are you seeing absolutely any signs of a recovery? You've also had a GST that has had an inflationary impact on the housing market.
Yeah, I think you're right. Like from a long time, we have been waiting for a recovery to come in the real estate sector. And because of multiple regulatory initiatives like demonetization, then RERA and GST, this recovery has got postponed a little bit. We have recently come out with a report and analyzed the large listed companies and their sales performance in the Q1 of the current fiscal year, which has shown some mixed bag trends if one may look at them. So the cumulative sales volumes have really grown by around 40-odd%, which is a good number if one looks at it. However, on a closer look, one really notices that out of a sample of 11 companies, only 4 companies have shown a trend of a positive growth in sales volume, whereas other 7 have still shown a declining trend. So yes, we are getting to a trend where organized players, large players, branded players with a strong track record of delivery are gaining market share and buyers are moving towards them. But I think it will be early to say that we are getting into a broad-based recovery zone.
Right. Earlier we have seen that, companies, different investors were very, very aggressive when it came to buying land. So, they were taking huge loans and buying land. They were bidding quite aggressively. Do you think that, the way these companies, these investors were thinking has changed? They're very cautious now in their approach for a big land or for any big project that they are bidding for?
Definitely, I think if we see the trend of various companies investing into land bank, that is significantly declined over the last 2-3 years. And there are multiple reasons for that, because already there is so much of inventory in the system that they are focusing on completing the inventory and clearing off that inventory first before buying a new land and launching further new projects. So that we have definitely seen a winning trend towards buying further land. And also investors are not there in the market at all. Earlier real estate used to be a very strong investment option for the investors, even for a salaried class who were buying second or third home. But now with the falling rental yields and a very low appreciation in the real estate prices, I don't think that anyone is looking at real estate as an investment option anymore.
In terms of property price trend, you mentioned about volumes quite in detail in the first answer, but what is your call on the price trend? Do you expect that to increase, or again it's too early to say considering the inventory that is there?
Yeah, I think you're right, because generally the volumes have to pick up first and inventory in the overall system has to come down to a manageable level before prices show some traction. So right now what trend we have observed is the average price or average realization per square feet is going down for the large listed players. That is not mainly because of some price correction happening, that is because of mainly the trend towards moving towards the mid-segment housing and affordable housing. So if we see in Q4 of FY17, the average realization per square feet was close to around 7,900 rupees per square feet. It has fallen down to as much as 6,100 rupees per square feet in Q1 of FY18. So that shows a trend that if a project is priced at the right spot and is affordable and has the right ticket size, it sells well.
Right. The other thing, and I want to once again come back to the outlook, because that's important for whether it's a retail investor wanting to enter a real estate stock, exit it, or even for a home buyer that might be watching you. For all the time I've been tracking the real estate market, the fact is there are a lot of things that have happened in the past which don't augur well. For example, if you have a government cracking down on black money and there's demonetization, it's supposed to impact real estate sales. So I want to first ask you, have you actually seen that happening? There was a belief that maybe, for example, farmland would get more expensive post demonetization, though we actually saw a price crash take place. I've already touched upon GST with you. Even though you have all this clamor for affordable housing by the government, the fact is you've got unsold inventory, you've got a trust deficit taking place, you've got companies like JP that can't complete projects, and these were all vetted by banks. There's a huge trust deficit taking place.
Yeah, that's correct, because like multiple issues like you have mentioned, GST resulting in price increase or demonetization resulting in a price crash. So the final end consumer or an investor is currently in a confused mode where the prices will trend to. But after demonetization, what one particular trend that we have seen, especially in the secondary market, where like a lot of investors were trying to liquidate their inventory, or their holdings. So there was a price correction of as much as around 15 to 20%, especially in the NCR market, in Gurgaon and Noida markets. But now with GST coming in, where the effective tax rates are higher than the earlier combined service and the VAT rates, so there is an increase in the cost component for the buyers by around 5 to 6% depending on the state where the project is located. So to cater to that, and because of the overall slow offtake in demand, so most of the developers are pitching in and compensating the buyers for that increase and taking a price cut to that extent. But having said that, it is, I think, quite early for anyone to take a call on where the prices are heading to. But from end customer point of view, I think it's really a very good time to go ahead, negotiate with the developer and get their dream homes.
Right. Thanks a lot for joining us with that. So those are the realty headwinds which show no sign of lifting at the moment. Appreciate you joining us and being so candid here on ET. Now that's ICRA's views as far as the real estate market goes. And